The 45-year-old CNN journalist has dodged questions about his sexuality.
Anderson Cooper has publicly acknowledged he is gay.
The CNN host and 60 Minutes contributing correspondent revealed that he's gay.
So today I'm announcing my resignation from Congress.
At no point did, I feel like this is dangerous.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you so much for joining us this Tuesday evening, July 3rd. A lot of interesting topics to cover this hour, but first up, out in America. Anderson Cooper, as you know, he came out of the closet, and largely there was collective shrugs in America. With the growing acceptance of gays in America, we are asking, are there any industries left where it's still not okay to be gay? And we're asking you at home to sound off. We're going to open up our toll-free phone lines right now, and the number 888-766-2428. Now, before you say, oh no, America's completely ready, well, how about a gay president? What about a gay shortstop for your favorite professional team here? How about a head coach? How about a Supreme Court justice? Are there any lines that still exist in America, whether it's beyond the athletic playing fields, in the Oval Office, or in the halls of whatever it may be, that you say, well, maybe not that far? We're going to get into that with your phone calls as well as your reaction via social media. And then, comeback kid, well, believe it or not, Anthony Weiner, he looks like he's gaming for a political comeback. But as we talk about the public's tolerance, how about the public's forgiveness? How quickly will it be ready to forgive him and others just from our region who had amazing falls from grace? And later, how about keeping an eye on the police? Well, a cell phone app will allow you to record an interaction with the police without them knowing about it. And some say, hey, this is terrific for accountability. Others are saying this may be against the interests of public safety and crossing the line. We'll get into that as well. All that and so much more. It's coming up on this edition of RFL, but let's begin with Anderson Cooper's quiet coming out moment. And our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman, he's in first position with the very latest.
Well, as you said, Rich, talk show and CNN host Anderson Cooper has officially come out of the closet, ending years of reluctance to talk about his private life. Cooper says he kept his sexual orientation private for personal and for professional reasons. But now he says he's done keeping it private. In an email message to the Daily Beast's Andrew Sullivan, Cooper wrote, quote, "The fact is I'm gay, always have been, always will be, and I couldn't be any more happy, comfortable with myself, and proud." The email message, with which Cooper gave Sullivan permission to post, came in when Sullivan asked Cooper to weigh in on a recent Entertainment Weekly piece that looked at the trend of gay people coming out in a more, quote, matter-of-fact way than in the past. Cooper had been silent on the issue in hopes of maintaining some level of privacy, but ultimately he decided that, quote, "The tide of history only advances when people make themselves fully visible. There continue to be far too many incidences of bullying of young people, as well as discrimination and violence against people of all ages based on their sexual orientation, and I believe there is value in making clear where I stand." But what's arguably just as noteworthy was the lack of a backlash. Cooper simply came out and everyone seemed to be okay and just move on. Now compare that to recent history, the shock of Ellen DeGeneres' coming out experience back in 1997, not so long ago. Advertisers like JCPenney and Chrysler decided not to buy airtime during the episode of her program where she came out. Wendy's chose not to advertise on The Ellen Show altogether. Rich?
And in fact, you don't even have to go that far back, Andrew, to see that the reason corporate sponsors were a little bit nervous about attaching the name recently, but they did. And again, we see the backlash to a minimum. We're going to have a debate here with you, the public, as well, to sound off. Listen, one of the things that I'd like to say is that as a nation, we're growing much more tolerant here. Look about the developments in gay marriage on a state-by-state basis and the end of don't ask, don't tell in the military. But that all being said, where is the line? Where is it still not okay to be gay? And I think for some people, they say, oh, well, we can never get there. And every time they say that, as soon as that barrier is crossed, either the next day, the next week, the next month, a collective shrug. But I'm going to give you a few specifics, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to sound off here. Hey, we all love our sports in America. What if the shortstop of your favorite team, the quarterback of your favorite football team here, pick your sport. If the captain of the team came out and was gay, what then? Would there be a backlash by the fans? Would he be cheered the next day? Well, we'll get into that because an athlete on the Olympic team did just that for women's soccer. But beyond sports, politics, how about the military? How about the Supreme Court? Where is our line, if at all, in 2012? Well, joining us now to sound off is Ryan Davis. He's Executive Director of Social Innovation at Blue State Digital. It's a media strategy and technology firm. It serves political and corporate clients. And Ryan is a veteran of Howard Dean's presidential campaign, so he knows a bit about politics. He's written about politics and gay issues for the Huffington Post as well as The Hill, and he's the host of the podcast Gay History Uncut. Ryan, thank you for a few minutes. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, I'm not too surprised, I think, that there was a collective shrug, as I said, when Anderson Cooper came out. People are like, I kind of knew already, where's the big news flash? But push it a little bit further, and let's try and push people where they haven't been pushed before and see what would or wouldn't be accepted. You know, I interviewed a Democratic candidate for Congress this week who's openly gay, and the subject never even came up. It wasn't a big deal. But what if he was a candidate for president? How tolerant, not just in the red states, but in America, would we be that the most powerful man or woman would be gay? It's one thing to be the mayor of New York City, potentially for Christine Quinn, but how about the president of the United States? Where would the public's feelings be really on that?
Well, you know, we had a gay president, James Buchanan, who was right before Lincoln. But I think that if we had a president now running, you know, the tide of history moves pretty quickly. I tend to think that you know, the polling has changed pretty radically in the last 10 years in terms of would people elect a gay president. Gay people now rank above atheists in terms of they'd rather elect a gay person than an atheist. So that's, you know, exciting news. And I think that, you know, I actually believe that there is the first gay president exists, and he or she is probably in high school right now.
You know, but the comfort level of either coming out or not, and the struggles, we even see this play out in Hollywood. Hey, two of the favorite characters on TV right now, if you like Modern Family, those two characters, gay couple, adopted kid, and everybody would love to have them as their best friend. That's one thing, though. And then you look at the Travolta stories and others, and the fear of both acceptance and being able to actually sustain a successful career in whatever the chosen industry is still different. You cover this at length here. Are there still real challenges with real ramifications if you come out in the wrong industry?
Sure. I mean, you know, I think that sports is an industry that's hyper-masculine, and you're not going to see people coming out as often in the NFL or in the WWE or in the Major League Baseball, nearly as often as you're going to see in the arts or in marketing or in industries that tend to have more of a creative bend, and therefore there's already a lot of gay people who are there. You know, and I think that coming out is, you know, we talk a lot about Anderson Cooper coming out, but if you look at the generation, the millennials generation, they come out at 15, 16, 17, so you're going to have people entering all these careers as openly gay individuals. So this whole sort of coming out in your adulthood is something that we're going to see the end of in the next 20 years here. So there's a major generational shift happening, which is helping propel this stuff forward.
Give me an idea. Listen, you've seen some athletes after their careers are over, whether it's a football player, basketball player, John Amici most notably. They came out when their careers were done, and they didn't have to worry about getting a contract. Do you think we're going to see in the next 10 years from one of the four major sports in America a pro athlete, not just a fringe player, but a starter, if not a star, come out and say, this is who I am, and not be penalized when their contract comes up for another team to want to sign them?
Yeah, I think absolutely we're going to see that. I think 5 years is even kind of a long way to shoot. If you look at how quickly things have changed in 2004, you know, President Bush was able to use gay marriage as an incredible wedge issue to help win key states. In 2012, Mitt Romney couldn't have run further away from criticizing gay people after President Obama made his announcement. So I think that even the sort of excitement around being able to use gay people as political tools is much weaker than it was. And I think there are whole generations that don't care anymore. And I think that's going to be evident in all sorts of industries. And certainly sports is going to be one of those.
All right, I'll give you a couple specifics. Let's say the next defense secretary is going before confirmation, and he or she comes out. Or for that matter, a Supreme Court nominee has to go before the U.S. Senate, and they're openly gay. In today's climate, in 21st century America, could you be confirmed as a Supreme Court justice with this makeup in Washington, let alone be the defense secretary, joint chiefs of staff, pick a military position of great rank here, and be confirmed in Washington today?
I think that because of the politicization of Washington today, that would be difficult. I don't know that that has directly to do with the fact that that person may or may not be gay. I tend to think that we probably had gay Supreme Court justices, and certainly the military is now, the Pentagon just celebrated their very first gay pride ever. So the military bureaucracy is shifting radically away from the sort of anti-gay stance of even 5 years ago.
Is this question
so, yeah,
I'm asking
I
one?
take your point that today.
Yeah, Ryan, am I asking a question that's better off answered where you live in America? Is it a regional question and a regional answer, or is this more a generational one?
I think it's a combination of. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's definitely regional. Certainly, it's different to be gay in Mississippi than it is here in New York City. But generationally, if you look at the polling, people under 30 just vastly accepting of gay people, and it's even less of a deal. As you mentioned before, you're interviewing the candidate who you didn't even bring it up. I think that's sort of become the norm in sort of the young people's relationships, that people are gay, people are bi, people are straight, and it doesn't really come up as sort of a main focus of their personality.
Hey, Ryan Davis, good stuff. I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm going to bring the table on this, and as a reminder, everybody, see that toll-free number on the bottom of your screen? That's how you can sound off on the question as well.
And if I can just jump in on the question,
Sure.
we're not saying what job is okay or not okay for somebody to be gay at. It's the public collective consciousness. Would the public be okay with somebody gay in that position?
Let me bring in, of course, Dominic Carter here, as always, political journalist and author. And Dom, if the next, I'm going to give hypothetical names and people are going to attach them, so I won't do it. But if the quarterback of your favorite football team tomorrow says, hey, I'm gay, and the guy's good, do you think the fans still cheer him on the first game of the season? Or do you think after the back pages and all the jokes in sports radio, do they only care how he performs, or do they still say, I don't want this guy putting his hands under center here because I don't like that for my football player?
I'm going to give you an honest answer, Richard. I think that we've come a very long way in terms of for civil rights for gay men, lesbian women, and so on. But in a quarterback situation, I think the team would probably tell that athlete, let's keep this in the closet. Let's not let this come out publicly. I think that the team, talking dollars and cents, literally millions of dollars, would be concerned about the backlash, because football and sports like football, baseball are such a macho sport. To answer your question, I think we probably have already had that star quarterback that's gay. We just didn't know it because it was kept in the closet.
How about politics, Andrew? Let's say you keep getting more and more polarized here. Popular figure out and open. Okay, listen, we had a charismatic congressional candidate sitting here, right? Mm-hmm. Could you see in our lifetimes an openly gay president who's got his male partner or his female partner, whatever the case may be, with their adopted modern family here, and the American public, not just a state or a city? I mean, we've got mayors that are gay, we've got congressmen that are gay, we don't have any openly gay members of the Senate that we know of. Can you be elected, forget even statewide, nationally, and be gay in America?
Not right now, not in today's politics, you certainly can't. I would hope that in our lifetimes, as we're talking about a long time here, and things are changing rapidly, but it's not just the fact of somebody's sexuality, it's the political connotation that comes with that, the political ideology that person would be sort of buttonholed into. And I think that would cause a lot of problems politically with how partisan the country is.